It's really hard to breathe, and we have to put this mask on about 10 hours a day because we stay at school about 10 hours, and I think it's really hard.
The discomfort of face masks is a feeling that many across the world now know all too well due to the deadly coronavirus pandemic. And for these high school students, it's enough to overshadow their excitement about finally returning to school. 6 million students in Korea's K-12 educational system are now back in their classrooms for the first time since COVID-19 gripped the nation and the world. Schools began reopening in a phased manner from late May after Korea successfully flattened its curve from nearly 1,000 infections a day to 20, a critical milestone in a nation that once had the second highest number of confirmed cases in the world after China. High schools in Seoul, Incheon, and Gyeonggi, Korea's most populated areas, are now required to utilize classrooms at 2/3 of their capacity to prevent possible transmissions, while kindergartens through middle schools can only make use of 1/3. This means that depending on the day of the week, some students head to school, while others stay home and rely on e-learning materials provided by the teachers and the country's state-run educational content provider. The vast majority of students outside these regions go to school every day. Yet, even as students and teachers are finally meeting face-to-face, schools in Korea still have a long way to go before settling in their new normal of the post-COVID age. The Korea JoongAng Daily had an exclusive look inside Pakmun Girls High School in Songdo, Incheon. Every student now starts their day by filling out an online self-diagnosis form before they come to school, which asks if they're displaying any symptoms of the coronavirus and whether they have visited any COVID-19 hotspots. A single tick of any box means they can't come to school and must stay quarantined at home. At this high school, students arrive in the morning on staggered schedules to minimize physical contact near the front gates. As they step inside the school building, teachers check their body temperatures using a thermal imaging camera. Inside classrooms, masks are mandatory for both students and teachers at all times. Desks that used to be placed in pairs are now spaced out, and windows are kept partially open even when air conditioning systems are on. To prevent physical mingling, study rooms are shut, elevators are off limits, and libraries now serve the sole purpose of lending books. No hanging out to read or using computers is allowed. During physical education classes, students play badminton in face masks while their classmates maintain social distance. Performance-based music classes such as singing and instrument lessons have been ditched altogether. During lunch, students are guided to the cafeteria during different time slots where they must sanitize their hands before entering and sit in assigned seats. All the students face straight ahead, no chatting allowed. It's the only time throughout the entire day they're allowed to take off their face masks. Teachers say it's all about self-discipline.
My students usually tell me it's better when they come to school because they can concentrate better. I think it's because there's kind of this peer pressure when you're actually with your classmates and learning together and collaborating. But because they have to kind of sit alone at home and watch, I think it's hard for them to concentrate.
This pundit thinks it's time for a paradigm shift, the creation of more interactive online educational content.
I mean, the students these days, they're digital natives who are sticking to the screen all day long unless the contents are boring. So if the students are not focused, not concentrated on an online course, it's not because it's online, but because the instruction and the teaching program itself is not designed well enough for students to maintain their focus and interest in the content.
Nonetheless, these two students say they prefer being in a classroom.
I do prefer coming to school. Yes, because I really miss my friends and teachers and miss talking with them. And these days I feel so depressed and alone because I just stay all the time in home except when I go to school.